Let's take you back to the main news of the day. We've been bringing you that news that a man suspected of having gunned down two Swedish football fans in the centre of Brussels last night has been shot in a cafe in the city and arrested. No official confirmation still yet that it is the same man, but it's looking more and more likely. Dipty's been looking at the Belgian and the Swedish pressures. The manhunt was continuing for that gunman who killed those two people in Brussels. Dipty.
Well, according to the Belgian papers, the man is suspected of being inspired by the Islamic State group. The Belgian paper Le Soir, on its front page, evokes a terror attack and an evening of terror in Brussels on Monday night. 35,000 football supporters as well were locked down for about 3 hours inside the King Baudouin football stadium where Belgium was playing Sweden on Monday night. Now, this is from another Belgian paper, the Gazette van Antwerpen, a Flemish paper, which says, once again, terror is on our land, on our territory, in our country. The paper's editor is writing today that the fear of terror attacks had slowly faded after the Paris and Brussels attacks some years ago, but it has suddenly returned in full force. The Belgian public broadcaster RTBF also looking at why two Swedish nationals appear to have been targeted in Monday's attack. The two people who died were indeed Swedish nationals. Public broadcaster explaining, or rather pointing the finger at various incidents of Quran burning in Sweden, which aroused the anger of the Muslim world and perhaps made Sweden a target for Islamist extremists. In any case, the Swedish press, for its part, is understandably in shock today after that attack. This is from a Swedish paper here on its front page, which goes with a rather factual headline. It says Swedes gunned down in Brussels. The paper's editor, though, really slamming the fact that football supporters have sort of become a symbol of a country, I quote, that needs to be punished by satanic killers.
It's India for this next story. The Supreme Court there has handed its ruling today on recognising same-sex marriage.
It was hoped that it would be a landmark ruling for same-sex rights in India, but it was not the case. This ruling from India's Supreme Court this Tuesday was closely followed by Indians. It was, in fact, the verdict was live streamed to the public. Well, in a blow to the LGBTQ community in India, the Supreme Court declined to allow same-sex marriages. Now, in its verdict, The Guardian explains today that the Supreme Court declined to grant legal recognition to same-sex marriages, saying that it is something that should be decided by the Parliament. However, it did agree to open up the pathway to giving same-sex couples and unmarried couples more rights. And it is, of course, the focus of some of the Indian papers today. This is from The Hindu, which explains that the Supreme Court ruling essentially approved for the formation of a government panel to possibly grant same-sex and unmarried couples more rights and privileges when it comes to things like the adoption of children. It's worth noting, though, that this hearing was quite extraordinary for a conservative country like India, which only decriminalized homosexuality just 5 years ago. Since April, the Supreme Court has essentially been hearing submissions from activists who argued that not being able to marry their same-sex partners was a violation of their constitutional rights and was also crucial for things like adoption, but also succession, inheritance, divorce as well. Among those opposing it, though, was the ruling BJP party, which denounced same-sex marriage as a, quote, Western concept, urban and elitist. In any case, the decision is certainly a blow to hopes that India could have only become the third country in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage. For the moment, only Taiwan and Nepal allow same-sex marriages.
Should we lighten the mood? I think we need to, don't we? A train carrying European MPs yesterday accidentally took the wrong route, leading them somewhere, well, kind of far, far away from Strasbourg, anyway. Well,
that's right. Political reports that hundreds of MEPs, so European ministers and European Parliament officials were accidentally sent to Disneyland Paris instead of Strasbourg yesterday. Apparently, the train took a wrong turn and ended up up in the land of Mickey Mouse. So cue the jokes in teehing. Stuart Politico says it will do nothing to deter those who already think the European Parliament is a Mickey Mouse parliament. One MEP joked that the Parliament's new catchphrase should be Disney's catchphrase, where dreams come true. Irony of all ironies, this actually happened on the centenary anniversary of Disney, day for day, October 16th. So I guess, you know, there are some things you can't make up, but certainly dreams did come true for Disney's PR machine yesterday, Stuart.
Still written Goofy was the driver. Anyway, finally from Dipty, a nun caught on video in a clash with environmental protesters yesterday here in France. That's right.
Clashes emerged over the construction of this large religious centre in Ardèche in southeast France. The construction is the source of a bitter dispute between nuns and environmental protesters. Yesterday, the nuns formed a human chain around the site. Would you like to look at that again, Stuart?
Yeah, certainly. Let's have another
Let me see if I can bring it up again. So the nuns, things got bitter. Let's say things got bitter, and the nuns formed a human chain to protect the construction, and then clashed with the protesters there. You see that nun tackling one of the environmental protesters to the ground, a tackle that certainly could put the French rugby team to shame. Maybe it's a bit too early for that.
Maybe a little bit. Just need a nun to take out those South African players. Thanks a lot, Tipti, with today's papers on France 24.